Yes, 1, 2, 3. Had 1, 2, 3. No, this is starting the 4th hour then. Am I doing my math right?
Yes.
All right. Cool. So starting off this segment, we're here with Mr. Vinny Amico.
Hey, everybody.
And he has a website called Ghost Hunters Outlet. And so he deals in all this fine equipment. And so we asked him to come in and kind of do a little demo and explanation on the equipment, how it works, and the best environments to use them in. And what else would you say to that, Vinny?
Well, how they actually react when you're out in the field, so you know if you are actually indeed getting something possibly paranormal versus any type of interference, false positives. So the idea is, great, you can buy all this gear, but if you aren't studying how it works, it's kind of a waste of time. You need to know what your equipment does, why it does, when it does it. And we're talking about different types of equipment. We break it down into kind of different categories. We have detection equipment, which is the widest. You know, we're looking at EM meters, vibration sensors, shadow detectors, so on and so forth. So we'll go over some of the more popular meters first. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about our store, why we started it, and things like that. From New Jersey, I moved out here in 2008. I reached out to a lot of teams, and people weren't really interested. And that was when the equipment explosion started. I mean, back in the day, here's what we used: baby powder. We used bells on strings attached in doorways. We had thread going across doorways. We would leave a location, come back and see if the thread was broken. The good old Radio Shack cassette recorder with a separate microphone, because the recorder itself made such a racket. If you used the inboard speaker, it wasn't really worth it at all. So we used a separate speaker. If any of you remember those plaques with the thermometer and barometer, etc., sitting on the back porch, we used those as well. That was pretty much our kit, and it all fit in a gym bag. That's what we carted around back in the day. So things have changed, as this field started to expand. People were utilizing equipment from other fields, electricians, EM meters. Primarily those are used by electricians. CCTV, they started putting those up where they had built-in IR, which was great. And they would set those up in various rooms to capture, possible paranormal activity, and/or, crews teams going through and, doing the investigation itself. So a lot of things were adopted to this field. Only recently, I would say in the past 10, 15 years, has there actually been things that were developed primarily for paranormal, and we're going to go over some of those types of things. Now, as far as our store, yeah, we sell K2s, we sell DAS products, Pro Measurement, Bell meters, REM pods, SP7s, SP11s, the Spirit Box selections. We used to be dealers for digital dowsing, but Bill decided a few years back that he wanted to discontinue his dealership network. So that all kind of went about. We beta test beer. Yeah, I beta test beer, but we beta test gear that comes out to see. Now, because something comes out doesn't mean we put it in our store. If we're not happy using it, we're not going to sell it if we don't believe in it. Why should we sell you something that we feel is useless? It's just taking your money. We build our own custom gear, which we're going to go over some of that stuff later on. Now, as far as a dealer, for instance, this is a K2. That has to be sold at $59.90. Everybody sells at $59.90. Possibly, if we can get it to work, we're going to show you some videos of the equipment being used. Also, false positives. For K2s, there's an actual false one that's out in the market. Well, we have a video which will simply show you the differences so you can easily see that. Yeah, you can buy those for 25, 30 bucks. Do they work? Kind of. You're better off getting your friend, putting a sheet over them, getting one of those counterfeit meters and running in your yard and chase them, because that's about what you're going to get, nothing. So, you know, the best is to buy from a reputable source. You know, that's kind of one of the things. And there's a lot of people that sell stuff. You just got to really, you know, be careful. And that comes to a funny point. Now, yes, we sell the K2 5990. We have a REM pods. If you're familiar with that, we sell for 189. Those are maps. That's manufactured adjusted price. That's what we have to sell those for, advertised. Now we can give discount coupons. That's got nothing to do, and we do that for our customers. Also, at the end of this segment, if you go on our site and use the code BEER, B-E-E-R, you'll end up getting a discount on any gear. Now, for instance, I had a guy contact me last week just saying, hey, you know, how do I know you guys are legit? I'm like, well, you know, you're going to use PayPal to pay with us your credit card. So anything happens, you have them to fight for you. But we're legit. You know, I got into this because I was tired of paying these exorbitant prices for stuff. So the guy was like, well, how can you sell a REM pod for $189 and ship that for free? I was on another site and they want $45 shipping. So I explained to him, well, shipping a REM pod, I eat the cost. With the post office flat rate, it's like $13. PayPal is about $6. So let's throw $1 in there for using ink and paper for the label, okay? 20 bucks. So it's $169. I'm still making $40 after I ship it to you. Isn't that enough? But no, there's companies out there that are going to sell you at retail at $189 and charge you $30, $40, $50 to get the damn thing. So why are you paying $100? Doesn't make any sense. So that's what we're all about. Now, a 6-inch bracket, you know, flash bracket, we sell them for $4.95. People sell them for $8.95, $10.95, and you got to pay shipping. Of course, we have to charge you shipping for that. But let's say you do buy a REM pod, that's free shipping, and you decide to buy a flash bracket too, and you pay for the shipping for the flash bracket in your order, we're going to refund that shipping because it's going to go in the box. It fits with the REM pod. So any way that we can save you money in shipping or any other way, consolidating shipping, even if you ordered something on a Tuesday and then, you know, I get another order in Wednesday morning and your item hasn't shipped from Tuesday, I'm going to combine that and refund you. I understand, hey, money, you know, this is an expensive hobby, plain English. We go to a location, people don't realize, you know, that's $20, $30, $40 in gas. Let's talk about batteries. We go in with batteries fresh. I don't, you know, we have meters, we will measure them out, but the thing with a battery is it might, like a 9 volt, it might be 9 volts when you start. Even if it was used and you test, oh, it's still 9 volts. As soon as that's on for 10 minutes because it's been used for 3-4 hours, it's going to drop to 8.8, 8.7, 8.6. And at a certain time on that downslope, your equipment's going to fail, or it's going to give you a false positive, and you're going to sit there and the item's going to go off. You go, oh my God, Uncle Joe's, you know, ghost is here. No, it's not. It's your equipment failing. That's why, again, you need to know what your equipment's doing, what it's telling you. I need a new battery. Some things do have indicators. A millimeter, there's a small little symbol that comes up with a K2, and these are the 2 most popular meters. That what I'm calling a power light, which people say it's background, but it's a power light. That will flash. That's when it's time to change your battery. But I really suggest doing investigations, changing them all the time. Now, what we use is rechargeables. They last a really long time. You get maybe 30, 40 uses out of rechargeable, and then they got to go because they're not going to hold the charge. But you can buy a $2 rechargeable 9 volt, use it 10 times versus buying a 50-cent, or going to a dollar store and getting 8 for $1, which are going to last a half investigation. So again, utilize, you know, name brands. We use Duracell Pro Cells as well, and some of the items that like K2s that don't really draw much energy. So, you know, batteries are very important. Now, I got into this because of an apparition that I saw when I was young. My wife and I are both involved, you know, with the business. I'm going to look at my notes because I can't remember crap. I'm 61 years old. But, you know, back in the day, you know, when we started, it was a group of friends hanging out in, you know, street corners and in parking lots and going, hey, you know, talking about this and that. Hey, you guys believe in ghosts? Yeah, I do too. Hey, you know that house down the street that's vacant, that's haunted? No, no way. Yeah, come on, let's go in. So we would go in. So a lot of the investigation we did with our Bells and our Radio Shack cassette recorders and the old Polaroid that used to spit the thing out and you sit there and, you know, shake the thing. Those were our tools, and that's what we took in there, besides a 6-pack of beer or 2. But that was breaking and entering Paranormal 101. That was investigating back in the day. As we get older, also you got to realize you didn't really say, well, my house is haunted or my business is haunted, because it's not something that people want to hear. I don't want to go to a haunted bar unless I'm into that. And most people weren't or afraid to associate that. So there was a group of us as we got older that stayed in touch, and that grew. Hey, my friend Vinny, he's into the paranormal too. He believes in spirits and a lot of different things. Oh yeah, me too. And you get a group of common people that believe in the same thing. So when somebody knows somebody that has a bar, whose cousins, uncles, mothers, fathers, sisters, brother, hey, can you guys come in and do this? Something's going on here. That would be where we end up calling. Hey, are you available Friday for, come out? No, it's my bowling night. And out of 10, 12 guys, we find 2 or 3 of us, and we'll go and we'll do the investigation. Popularity in the field, changed once TV came about. Ghost Hunters, I think, was one of the one series that really, took it to the next step. But back in the day, a lot of research. Warrens, they just had a special on a Travel Channel on them. Well, the Warrens, Holzer, Harry Price, if nobody knows him, he was an investigator in England in 1920s. Even Edison, his last few years of his life, he was into EVPs because he was getting close to the end and he wanted to know, is there a way to communicate? What's it all about? And he was very curious in the paranormal. Seances in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. So a lot of people had an interest, and it became head once TV shows on investigating started to get popular. Okay, so we're going to go into a little bit about what they call as teams. Basically, it's a group of people that work well together. Now, I've been here since 2008. Over the time, not that I went through people, but you meet people, you do investigating, and either they get comfortable and the true person comes out, true colors. We went through a lot of different people, and now I got a group of people, which I think if you were there this morning early for the introduction of the people that were here together in Arizona, and that's what they're doing, is trying to get people throughout the United States and the world to kind of get together and let's share information, let's share techniques, methods, so on and so forth. There's no really right or wrong way. Just when you do investigate, and this is my personal feelings, is you need to be respectful. You can't go in there blazing, talk to me now, I demand you. Take a look at it like this way. You give your keys to somebody, a friend, and they come knock at the door and they bring another friend, you come in, you have a drink, you sit on a couch and you talk. Now that same person, your friend that has keys, brings in 20 people, they're jumping on your furniture, going in your refrigerator, ripping food out, throwing wrappers on the floor, empty cans. Are you happy about that? That's the way you approach a location. If you're going to investigate, you are actually going into a place that something is residing. It's their spot, and you need to be respectful, and you need to ask for the permission. Now, as far as equipment, evidence has to support evidence. Because the K2 goes off, that's nice. It was interesting. We get something on a spirit box, that's interesting. We get something else, maybe an EVP on a recorder, okay, that's interesting. I kind of look at paranormal investigating like rain. If I go outside and it got a little cool out, well, it got a little cooler than before. If I go outside and it got windy, got a little windy. If I go outside and it got a little cloudy, oh, it got a little cloudy. If I go outside, it got windy, it got cooler, it got cloudy. What's most likely happening? Chance of rain. When you get multiple things going on, it's basically a chance of paranormal activity. So let's take a look at some of the more popular meters and things that are out there. Let me get back to my cheat sheet. Where am I? Wow, we're all down here already? Okay. Are you able to put anything up, Keith? Those JPEGs?
Yeah, I can do the pictures.
Wonderful. Okay, put the EM spectrum picture up. Okay, this is the electromagnetic spectrum. This is everything that is electromagnetic. If you take a look, there's microwave, there's RF, which is cell phones, towers. We're bombarded. There's things up in space, 1,000 satellites that are sending feeds down, somebody going by in a truck, keying a walkie, police cars, you name it, it's out there bombarding us. So you have to understand what your equipment is actually doing. So we're going to take a look at some of the gear on this table, and we're going to talk about each one individually. First one, you guys can see that. This is called the Ghost Meter. This is the regular Ghost Meter and the Ghost Meter Pro. It's a nice little starting meter. It's very inexpensive, $30 to $35. You can pick them up. Nice thing about them is when they do activate, come on, do something, baby. Yeah, we'll bring our trusty unit here. Oh my God. As you can see, it's lighting up and making sounds. These are great for, again, the beginner, for tour companies. This is actually a clock radio. I used to sleep next to one of these things. I got it when I was, I think, 17, my first CD. I was so proud of that thing. I think I got rid of it maybe 10 years ago, because one day I was in my bedroom with an EM meter. I went by the thing, and it was 60 milligauss. I'm like, holy crap, what the hell am I doing? I'm killing myself. So that thing went bye-bye. But it's a great way to test equipment. But if you notice, it had a lot of tones, a lot of lights. It's good for a beginner. It's also a lot of people that do get into this field for whatever reason. Basically, they get out of the field. Why? It's boring. You go out to a location 4, 5, 6 hours, nothing happens. You end up shooting 8 cameras. You run 6 recorders, you review all that stuff. After a week and a half, 2-week time, you got nothing. Do that 5 or 6 times. Imagine a TV show that actually did it the way you investigate, and nothing happens. You think the show would be on the air? So a lot of people, after a while, like, oh, this is boring, nothing's happening, so on and so forth. So you can find things on eBay and other sources. So what I suggest, if you're starting out, buy a low-end meter. Start with it, and if you stay with it, then go up. Keep this as a backup, or if you have someone come with you for the first time, they can borrow this and use it until they get their own products, okay? So that's the Ghost Meter. As you can see with that clock radio, it was very active. So let's play with the clock radio and everything else. We got everything going crazy here. Okay, if you take a look, I don't know if you can see the screen. What is it, 10.5 milligauss?
Yeah, typically.
Yeah,
Operator.
10.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope you can see it. I can see it. See it.
That was like
Right there,
7.6.
Okay. So it's a high reading because of this.
20.
20,
Well,
20
2
milligauss.
yeah.
Mine was hitting 60. It was old, again, when I was 17. So the thing was 40 years old when I threw it out. This is beeping. This is another unit. This is a variation of the smart sensor. This does EM. It'll also do temperature. There's a temperature display. And as you can see, when it hits a spike, it lights up and it gives it a tone. This is a cheap man's Mel meter. The Mel meter has almost the same things. It does EM, it does temperature. This is the cheaper version. It's pretty good. Now, frequencies, a lot of these meters have different frequencies. The K2, it runs primarily from 30 hertz to 20 kilohertz. Most of the other meters are 400 hertz and under. That's why a K2 tends to act up. Now this thing is making noise because this particular unit, we have a piezo in there, so it makes a sound. We sell these, I think they're like 65 bucks if you want something that makes noise. Same normal K2's, just got, you know, something a little bit additional in it. Steve Gonzalez, Ghost Hunters, you remember the Lutron 822A, this was his choice meter. I like meters with displays. We use the K2, it's got a place in our kit. We have used this. We don't use the Lutron as much. The meter that I particularly use that I really do like for a lot of different reasons is the Mel. Now this is a upgraded version besides being a standard Mel meter that also has a REM unit built into it. There's an antenna that comes up, which we'll show you, demonstrate a little bit later on, and it puts a EM field around us. Anything that conducts electric that comes in this area proximity will cause this to sound off and lights will light up across the bridge here. Thing is, I'm a Swiss Army knife guy. I like something that does a lot of things. This particular Mel meter that we have here, it's a REM and also a shadow detection. There's a circuit in here that comes with a little illuminator. I can set the illuminator on the other end of the room, set this up, and anything that comes through that will cause this to light up. So again, lots of different things. Basic unit, Mel 8704. Now, what does that mean, Mel 8704? Why isn't it 822? Why is this a Mel 8704? Gary Golka, who was the engineer that designed this, and this as well, it's SB7 spirit boxes, SB11 spirit boxes, and the REM pod. These were built by Gary. He lost his daughter Melissa, which is the male part of this. She was born in 1987 and she died in 2004. So that's where the name and the number comes, 8704, in honor of his daughter. He designed these things to communicate with her. He felt her spirit was still there. They had a phone call and there was a recording. So thanks to Gary and a lot of other electrical engineers, now the field started to expand to come out with products like this that were designed for the investigator for paranormal research. Okay, so a couple other items that we're going to go over on the MEL. Everybody's pretty much familiar with the K2. As you can see, it's reacting very high. I'm going to move this clock radio. I'm going to make sure that you guys can see everything here. I'm going to just show you what a cell phone does to this stuff. We're going to let everything kind of calm down a little bit. If you guys can see almost everything there. Hey Keith, if you have your phone with you, can you give me a call?
I was going to have Joey do it because my phone's the equipment camera.
Yeah, that's right. I got an idea.
Or Wendy, anybody give me a call.
Somebody wants to know what's your favorite equipment.
I'm going to actually go over that in a couple of minutes. As far as the ammeters, I love the MEL meter. I mean, I like it for a couple facts that when it's doing something for a reason. It's not a... Now, if you can see how everything's reacting, see the K2 is most active. Here we have the ghost meter going crazy. MEL meter, yeah, it's showing a 0.6 milligauss. This is now going off as it gets closer to it. But you notice that the K2 had the most activity. K2 in our rig, it's used when we do a walkthrough. We want to find out where the man-made stuff is, the Wi-Fi, the microwave, the refrigerator that's 20 years old that is putting out EM fields. We had, speaking of clock radios, we were brought into a house and their claims were in the bedroom. They feel like they're being watched. They see shadows, all sorts of stuff. So we went in and we did a baseline in their bedroom. One side of the bed was a clock radio that was high milligauss. The other side, they had an electrical heater. We turned that thing on between the two of them. There was a huge EM cage. A lot of people are susceptible to EM, causes hallucinations, feelings of being watched. So what we suggested to them is two things: either move the bed to the other side of the wall or get the stuff out of here. They ended up doing that and pretty much their stuff subsided. And that's what it's about, helping people. A lot of times, 99.9% of the time, it's nothing paranormal. That was the original reason for going out there, even the Warrens. Let's find out what's going on, document if there is something going on, and if there is something going on, help them figure out a way to cope with it, exist with it, or do something about it. So the field got a little bit where a lot of people are just going out to investigate for the sake of investigating. Again, when I first came out here, I hooked up with a lot of people, and one crew that I hooked up with, this guy, used to set up 8 to 10 cameras. It used to take us an hour running the cables, getting everything set, getting everything in position, syncing recorders with it. And what happened? He never reviewed everything. And I asked him, did you go over the stuff that we caught? Oh yeah, I recorded over it. I'm like, well, what the hell did we spend the time setting it up for if we're not going to review it? So you got to remember, and I know we all have day jobs, we have lives and children, etc. But if you're doing something for a client, they're going to want to see what's going on in their home. They're going to want whatever evidence you catch. You need to painstakingly go through that evidence and find things, okay? But again, like my rain scenario, one thing for the most part is not enough. And Jason Hall has basically said it the best, and I'm going to repeat this. If you go out to an investigation and you're going with the intent that you're going to catch paranormal activity, anything you get is going to be paranormal, regardless. If you go out with the idea that there's nothing paranormal there, we're going to prove that whatever claims are there are not paranormal. When you get different things that happen, most of the time, it's going to be inconclusive. You can't put your hat on it that this is a haunted location, that there is something going on here. So depends again on your mindset, how everything works. Okay, so we're going to go, anybody can call in with questions or email questions, message questions, so on and so forth. Basically, again, as far as meters, these are the two I really use. Again, the K2 for basically doing baseline stuff and communications. Unfortunately, a lot of the videos that I brought for you guys to see are not compatible with the format that we're doing the Powerpalooza on. So if you go up to our website, which is azpirs.com, there are links to our YouTube channel. You can see some of the videos that we have there. Now, our YouTube channel, we don't self-promote. We're not running our next episode. That's not what we do. We end up putting up videos up there for locations that we help. We do fundraisers through our arm called AZ Ghost Tours. You know, you got to realize that a lot of places that are out there, whether it's, you know, asylums or, you know, vacant hospitals, so on and so forth, most of these places exist because of whatever funding they get for historical locations. When that dries up and they can't make it, they're going to close the doors. So the places that you want to go investigate and love to go investigate, they may not be there simply because of funds. So we do our best to do fundraisers here in Arizona to help these places stay in business for people like you when you do come to visit Arizona, to be able to get a chance to investigate and enjoy the locations. Okay. So we're going to go over a couple different things. As far as equipment, we're going to get all this stuff pretty much out of the way. I will demonstrate the Melmeter a little bit further for you, if you like. You know, dance, sing a little bit, give me a break or something like that. We're going to turn on the REM feature on this so you can kind of see this activated. Okay, so basically, I have this mounted. It also has a kickstand, which is kind of helpful. We also use meters to communicate. We just did an investigation. We had a K2 next to this, which if there is any EM is going to actually go off much crazier than this. We use this meter to communicate. Give me a 1.0, give me a 1.1. And we had this thing escalate. There's no reason for this meter to go up. The K2 is pretty much silent. There's nothing going on. So what was causing this meter to rise? Possibly paranormal activity. The rest of that investigation, we had a lot of things going on. I wish I had that video to show you. But the REM feature, basically, if you come close to the antenna, it'll go off. Now, this doesn't conduct electric. As you can see, it's not doing anything. You can put a baseball bat there, a cardboard box. It's only something that generates some type of electrical field. That is what we feel that spirits, ghosts, whatever you want to call them, that is what they are built on. They either make their own EM field, which this can pick up on, and or disrupts this EM field. Same thing with the REM pods. This is the same feature that's in there. We do make our own product. We do trigger objects, which we're going to show you in a little bit. Basically, someone asked, what's my favorite piece of equipment? Well, me. Because I have to decipher all this. Because a piece of equipment is going on doesn't mean that there's anything happening other than the fact that it picked up on something. A K2 might have picked up on a stray RF signal from a satellite or from a trucker going by. Anything like that. Somebody outside with a cell phone. They were texting their girlfriend, hey, I'm coming home now. I could have picked that up. So me, I am the equipment. I am the piece that makes it all work because I can judge and tell what's going on with that equipment. Another piece of equipment that we use a lot is spirit boxes, and you're pretty much all familiar with those. Let me go find where mine are, and one's way over there. Okay, that's not going to help. Okay, everybody's familiar with the standard one, the SB7. You see that on most of the shows, the little one. This is its big brother. This Gary came out with a few years after the original. This is an SB11. I prefer this for quite a few reasons. It's actually two SB7s in one. It's two spirit boxes. So I can run one on FM, one on AM. I can set one in reverse. This one happens to also have a REM feature built in. He made a few of those and he decided not to go simply because it got expensive. You know, people, you know, this is a field that, you know, it can get really, really crazy. That's why everything that you see here, meters, everything's under $100. The millimeter is 99. That's what we have to sell it for. You know, the K2's $60. The Lutrons run about 65. The Smart Sensor about 35. So my suggestion, buy the most meter you can, because there's three things that you're going to use a lot. A recorder, a digital recorder. Do we sell those? Yeah, we can get those ones from China that you see on a lot of the sites for, you know, $20, and people sell them for $40. You know, go on the site yourself and pick it up. You know, we're not going to make money off of stuff that you can get yourself. Just like road cases. You can go to Harbor Freight and pick up a nice road case for $30. I'm not going to sell it to you for $60. You can get it on your own. Recorders. I can't come close to what Walmart will sell a recorder. Now, recorders that we use that I happen to prefer, I don't like anything big and fancy. People use the Zoom H4. Don't really need all that. Two recorders that we use, Zoom 1, and this is a Sony, I think it's a PX333. 4 gigabytes is plenty. There's also a place for sound card if you need to go higher. It's a mono, this is a stereo unit. These work fine. Thing you gotta remember about recorders, what you're recording isn't a voice the way we know it. You gotta realize when I'm speaking, my vocal cords are vibrating, which is causing the air to move that vibration across. Now, somebody's ears picks up that vibration, changes it into electrical impulse that your brain reads as sound, as voice, as a word. Do spirits have vocal cords? Doubtful. The thing is about all recorders is they are magnetic in property. So the idea is a lot of times you are getting EVPs, and most of them are not the class A's, which is where you can hear it without any type of headphones or filtering or anything. A lot of times it's recorded right through the magnetic property, and that's how we get a lot of real solid EVPs, some realistic EVPs. You can go on eBay, pick these things up. Sorry guys, you want to see the meters go crazy? You can pick these things up on eBay for 25, 30 bucks. And again, what do you need? You need a good meter. You need a good recorder. Video-wise, all the years that I've done stuff, I catch a lot of EVPs on my cameras. I've caught some things moving, but even with the old CCTV stuff that people used, unless you're paying a fortune for a camera, the ones that you're buying for 40, 50, 60 bucks, and you put it up to the 8 system DVR, they're so grainy. You sit there and you got to realize when you're doing like a static camera, it's like staring at a picture. Nothing's moving. And you're staring at it and you're staring at it, and an hour goes by and 2 hours go by, and you got the pixelations. And your mind starts working, because that's what our minds are designed to do. Our eyes see something or our ears hear something. It's trying to figure it out. And you start seeing things where you got to stop, because everywhere you look now, and this thing is going to be some type of spirit walking by. So as far as cameras, yes, we definitely do use them. We use them more on ourselves doing investigation to capture other types of evidence that's actually going on. We do use them as static, and again, a lot of EVPs we capture. My preference of camera we sell on our site is a Sony. This is a Sony CX440. We sell the CX405. It's a little bit downgrade. 32 built-in gigabyte, or 8 gigabyte takes up to a 32 card. So we get a lot of use out of these. Nice picture. The thing is, the camera's fast. It's modified to see full spectrum, and it doesn't spend a lot of time processing. And that's what you really want. You don't want that type of lag, because as it's freezing or trying to do something, in the meantime, whatever evidence you might have caught for that split second is gone before the camera figures it out. So, detection equipment. Everybody's familiar with these things. Vibration sensors. There's a company called Apparition Technologies, which we're a dealer for. Unfortunately, they are defunct now, but a real nice unit. It's not working at all. That's good. There it is. You know, nice little unit. It also has a feature where you can add sound to it. So if you have this on a camera and it's doing something, it'll speak. But as you can see, this thing's 7 years old, so it's not as happy as it used to be. But there are a lot of inexpensive things. Again, being that now it's working like crazy, right? Being that paranormal, we believe, is energy. We have energy sensors, static. You have positive, negative ions. This is something from Digital Dowsing. I don't think Bill makes them anymore. If you find them, it's called an e-sensor. As you can see, it's lighting up different colors. Obviously, the blues and greens are positive, reds are negative. But these are nice to have where when we're doing an investigation, maybe this is the medium that the spirit can communicate with by making this go off. Maybe it could use a meter. Maybe it can use a spirit box. You give it as many opportunities as you can to communicate with you. And that's where another thing that we have is trigger objects. That's something that we use a lot in conjunction with all the equipment. Everybody's familiar with an Ovilus. You've seen those on TV. This is an Ovilus 5. The new one now is an Ovilus B. Difference basically is this was a Wi-Fi setup. They got rid of the Wi-Fi and Bill put in a larger speaker because the audio is very poor on this thing, so we always have to use external speakers. But an Ovilus, the way it's designed is it takes environmental readings, it takes that sum. Inside the unit is a dictionary. It's 2,048 words. And every word has a number associated to it. So when this takes environmental readings, and let's say the sum is associated to the number 19. 19 might be the word paranormal. So as you're sitting there, and we have a video which we could show you, we were using an Ovilus, and I was asking the question, do you know what kind of paranormal investigators we are? And my wife was there, and a previous session in another room, one of the associates we were with, his shirt said paranormal. So my wife said, do you remember? It was on John's shirt. You said it before. And next thing you know, this thing speaks paranormal. There was a gentleman that brought us there. His name was James. You can go on our site to our YouTube channel and find this video. A gentleman by the name of James brought us up to this location to do an investigation. And him and another guy were working across the street. There was two sets of buildings on each side. He was having battery issues. So he's walking back to his car, and one of the investigators with me said, hey, I hear somebody walking outside. And we had an actual camera outside, CCTV. We happened to review this one. But you see the guy walking by, and the Ovilus says James. Now, out of 2,048 words, to say a name at all, and the correct one, is kind of interesting. Was that paranormal? Due to the fact of all the different things that happened that night, we have a large door that was moving on command. If anything's here, you know, come in, open the door, and this 2-inch door, you see it move 4 inches on the screen. We happen to have a video camera sat down because they were doing something, and he put the camera down, not realizing it was still recording. Thank God he did, because we call it this fantastic evidence. So again, evidence has to support evidence and document evidence itself. So the Ovilus, spirit boxes, do we need all these? Don't go out there and blow a large wad on equipment. Now, I sell equipment. Don't you think I want you to buy stuff from me? Yeah, buy it all. Yeah, come on, buy it all. Spend thousands of dollars with me so I can do continual research and pay for my gas and batteries when I go on my own investigations. I don't want you to do that. I want you to buy what you're comfortable with. Start slow. Now, if you've been in the field for a while and you're looking for a new piece of equipment, okay, hey, give us a call, shoot me an email. A lot of the stuff that we have, like for instance, the Melmeter REM SDD, that's a very expensive meter. That's like 2 and change. That's not everybody's cup of tea. Am I going to put 2 or 3 of those on the shelf? No, because there's a chance I won't sell one. So why am I going to do that? They're made to order. It takes 2 weeks. So if you're really interested in something that I don't have in stock, email me and I'll order it for you. I'll just take your word that you're going to, buy it when it comes in. That's what we're all about. That's what we're trying to do. That's why we started Ghost Hunters Outlet. I sell to a lot of teams in Arizona. I work with a lot of these people. We bring out 6 row cases, and these guys can tell you it's ridiculous the amount of stuff that we bring. It takes longer to load our stuff in than it is to do the investigations sometimes. But the reason being is I'm a Boy Scout. I need to have everything. I got my bells in my kit. I got my powder in my kit. I've got stands, I've got brackets, I got external speakers, I got walkie-talkies, I got every gadget to attach a camera. I got it all. I carry 5 or 6 different meters. We have another REM unit, which is called a REM DD. This was, again, that Australian company that's out of business. These things are great. I have 3 of these in my kit. I got another one here, which we make. This is another inexpensive one. These run on our site. We didn't put them up there, but it's, I think, 75 bucks, something like that. It works, does fine. Okay, so we have these available. The difference with the regular REM pod is the new REM pods, they do have a temperature sensor, plus or minus. It'll end up going off. When we use it, we shut it down. The newer units, millimeters with the REM, as well as the REM pods, they also have a 5-step sensitivity. You have to watch when using a millimeter with a REM. These are not bad. This is an older unit, but the ones with the sensitivity, you cannot cradle it up here. You'll watch somebody on TV running around like this. This is picking you up, okay? The proper way, and you can go on to Gary Galka's site. He'll show you that proper way to handle this when you're using the REM feature is this way. A lot of times we use it on a mount. We'll mount it on a piece of equipment which we call a power rig, which, can you grab that up on top of the piano, the one all the way on the right? Yeah. Okay, this is something that we made, which is called a power rig, okay? So basically the idea is this goes over my head, so now it's taking most of the weight where I can use my hands, I can turn on my meter. I have a camera, I have my light, my millimeter sits right here. This happens to be an SB7. There's 2 under attachments if I want to add additional lights or any other type of equipment. You know, these holders, you can hold an Ovilus, you can hold your phone. We use a FLIR unit. This is an expensive FLIR, it's a C2, but you can buy those FLIR ones, whatever they're called, that you can end up using your phone. There's a lot of apps. I think there's somebody later on in the program that's going to be talking about different apps that are out there. When and if you do use your cell phone, airplane mode, because your cell phone, as you saw, will cause anything that can pick up EM to go off and possibly give you a false positive. So all the apps will work with your cell phone in airplane mode. I keep mine in my road box. There's no, I'm not going to call anybody. And, we take a break. We'll investigate for 20 minutes, half hour, 40 minutes, take a break. Someone else goes in and does something. At that point, I'll go outside. My wife, who used to smoke, she would go outside and puff, and I would look at my phone and see what's going on. These things, I think we're selling them for 35 bucks. 2 handles, comes with the strap, comes with this to be able to hold any unit, and it's got 6 places to mount equipment. So it's really handy. You can have a go bag, a shoulder bag, which I still carry with, spare batteries, etc. Well, I want to use my meter. You go, in the meantime, you're doing this. Guess what happened in front of you? Evidence that you didn't catch because your eyes are down here playing with stuff. So it's really handy. Christmas is coming. These are great. I think we have 10 of these in stock. Theories. Everything is basically based on theories. I wish I had a ghost. Actually, I kind of do have a ghost that we work with. I don't do anything at home. Do you have the light panel handy? Okay. Basically, I don't do anything in my home. My home does have activity, and I don't acknowledge it. I don't try to communicate with it. It's kind of like you go to a bar, and you see somebody attractive down at the end of the bar, and they see you. Now, you might be attractive, you would love to hook up. Now, if they turn and they look at you and smile.
It's batteries.
Okay, that one I don't have on me. All right, but we'll just show it. You could just lay it down. Okay, so, they'll look at you. Maybe you want to hook up, you smile. Maybe they're not interested, they turn away. Okay, or maybe they smile. So if they smile, they're interested in me. So you go and you do the next step. If they didn't smile, you're probably going to leave them alone. If you sit there and you engage and you invoke by asking for interaction, is anything here with us, etc., so forth, you're going to possibly bring something on. Sensitives. Most of the team that we have, most of the females that we use, Wendy, you met Wendy, you haven't met my wife, which is kind of okay. She's not watching, so I can say that. But Sensitives. A lot of people don't like to use them. Why? Because they can't prove that it's paranormal. So you're trying to tell me if this thing goes off, that's paranormal? I believe in the sensitive, their feelings more. You use them both. Wendy feels something. I got a sense in this room. Now all of a sudden equipment starts going off. Hey, it's like the rain. It's possible something's going on here. You know, you use what you do have. People that call us for claims for different activities, things going on in homes, we find out a lot of times that they are somewhat sensitive, you know, and what happens with a spirit that can tell that these people can sense them, or there's a possibility that they can communicate. It's like going to China. I use these, you know, all the time. You go to China, you're trying to find something, nobody's speaking English. Oh, you know, you got your stupid book out and you're trying to, and the guy's looking at you getting aggravated because he doesn't know what you're saying, you're wasting his time. All of a sudden you hear somebody in the distance talking English. What do? You run right over to them. Hey, buddy, can you help me? I'm trying to find Hoshi's place. That's what paranormal is. That's what happens sometimes with sensitives, with people that go to a home that there may be residual energy, whatever the case may be, you know, an intelligent haunting, and it realizes that there's something there. So when we get called in, our sensitives can pick up on things. Then we use our equipment to validate the sensitives validate our equipment, our sensitives and the equipment validate possibly the claims of the client. And I've gone to investigations where
3 minutes.
nothing happened. And it was like, that's it, you know, nothing. So people get upset because they live it 24/7. We're there 4, 5, 6 hours. You know, if it doesn't like you, or if it's shy or whatever the case may be, the same the way it was in life, you're not going to get an interaction. So again, with equipment, don't go crazy. If you're starting off, buy your lower end type of stuff to get going. If you stay with it, use it as a second piece and upgrade to a newer piece, or sell the first piece on eBay and upgrade, so on and so forth. There's a lot of different equipment that we make. This is a light sensor, which we have videos on our site that you can actually see. So go up to the main site, which is www.azpirs.com. Just go up there. There's links to our store. There's links to YouTube, and you can take a look at this stuff. My email is up there. Our contact form is up there. You're more than welcome to contact me with any of the questions that you may have on equipment. If you're going to go buy something, please contact me first. Let's talk. I had a woman a couple years ago. She lost her husband, and she wanted to buy a spirit box. I didn't really know what to do. I didn't have the heart just to sell it to her, because I don't want her to get disappointed or get her hopes up. But the point is, she contacted me and we talked, and I let her make the decision. So I will give you pros and cons on anything that you want to buy. And again, it's ultimate your decision to do so. I want to thank you very much. Again, reach out to us. Continue, please, with the Parapalooza. It's a great thing these guys are doing, okay? I hope you got something out of it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you didn't mind looking at me for an hour. Thanks.
Oh, thank you, Vinny.
Right.
I got you live there, Keith.
Thank you so much, Vinny. We appreciate it.
Good.
Yeah, great job. We everybody needs more time.
know,
We're learning
I know.
from this first one.
I mean,
so
I'm winging it. If I had the video, it would have been a lot less yabber dabber, but that's okay.
that's all right.
So I'm gonna do the thing with Facebook real quick, because for some reason our Facebook stream got deleted. So I'm gonna try to re-enter it, and then we'll bring Parker on.
Can you hear us, Parker? Give us a thumb up.
I haven't brought her in yet. So.
Okay. Oh, there we go.
And this is it on YouTube? Because I went on YouTube and I didn't get it.
It's on YouTube. Yeah, it was the Facebook. We were late on Facebook, so it deleted the feed, and then but we can get it reposted.
When you were getting on with Rebecca, and I'm like, okay, they said they were going to put a new link this morning, so I just clicked on it and it happened to work. So
Yeah. Well, hopefully they'll all.
I think we're
keep
back
working.
up.
All right.
So I'll go ahead and bring Parker on.
All right. I'll let you do that one.
Hey guys.
Hey.
So I guess I'll start with the segment stuff. So basically today I'm just going to be talking about my podcast and like podcasting like in the paranormal. And you guys are welcome to stay on and interact and what have you. I don't mind at all. Normally when I do this type of stuff, I like to keep it an open discussion. So you guys are free to ask questions while I'm talking and what have you. So my name is Parker, and I run the Ominous Hour, which is a paranormal, cryptid, dark history type podcast. And I do have some abilities. I've learned recently that they are clairvoyant abilities. I used to think that it was just medium light, and no, actually, it's clairvoyance. And I do the Ominous Hour because I feel like there needs to be a lot more normalcy about talking about the paranormal and what have you. Um, so yeah, there are a lot of different abilities. You have clairvoyance. A lot of them are based off of the senses, like seeing, touch, what have you. You have psychic mediums, which can see into everything. And basically, what clairvoyance is basically your deja vu, premonitions, all of that good junk. So it's basically sight based. Um, and I'm going to be talking a lot about myself in this segment, and I'm sorry. So I kind of have to give you a lot of back history about why I do the podcast and kind of explain. Because growing up, I had a lot of paranormal things happen to me, and I didn't really understand at the time that they were only happening to me. Because I remember at a very young age where things would happen to me and I would point them out, and people would be like, yeah, no, we don't see that. It's just like, what? Um, my family also has a history of abilities. So I actually thought that my great grandma had abilities, which she ended up not, because I actually talked to my grandma last night, and my grandma was like, no, they did not have, abilities. But turns out all of the clairvoyant abilities started with my grandma. Turns out that my uncle has it, my mother does not, I have it, and my daughter has it. And again, the clairvoyance is just, having an extra sight. And going into that more, my family, I don't know if you guys know the term mountain people, but evidently there's a lot of mountain people in my family. And whether they know it or not, or whether they want to accept it or not, they do a lot of folk magic. And what folk magic is the old wives' tales and stuff, because where we're located, there is a lot of mountain people, there's a lot of folk magic, and there's also a really big history in powwowing, which is a whole other topic. And I remember growing up, and my grandmother would be like, don't put shoes on the table, or you can't have a hat on the table at noon, and all this other stuff. And that was really weird. And then as I got older and started learning more things, it kind of clicked that, hey, that's what that is. So going into my personal history, everything really started at a really, really young age. And when I mean a really young age, I mean my parents decided to have a seance in their attic when I was an infant, and things went crazy. Evidently they came down and I was floating in the playpen. The walls had oozed a red substance that looked similar to blood. Plates were thrown out of cabinets. Not great decision making on their part, but yeah, so paranormal really, really started way back in my family, and nobody ever acknowledged it, which is a big part of why I do the Ominous Hour. So that all happened, and then we had moved to a little village, and we lived in this house for quite a while. Turns out there was like no deed to this house or any information on this house. This house technically did not exist on any like blueprints or maps. But we lived in this house, and the house was just weird in general. But I very distinctly remember as a young child, one of my first like paranormal memories was being like, oh, I see skeleton babies, like where the entrance to the basement would be. And I was never allowed in the basement for whatever reason. I could not go in there. I was not permitted. It was a dirt floor basement, all that stuff. But I very distinctly remember seeing like these skeleton babies, and they're like, there's nothing there, it's your imagination. I'm like, no, they're right there. And then a few years later, I had another experience in the house, and I had a little friend at the time who had slept over, and we were both sleeping in my bed. I had woken up in the middle of the night, for whatever reason. I don't even remember. Something had just woken me up, and all I see is like this very golden glowing figure lean into the doorway, look at me, and then leave the doorway. And the really odd thing about that experience is that I wasn't afraid. Like, normally I would be terrified of like everything, but for whatever reason in that moment I was not afraid. It was very warm and calming, and I pretty much like went right back to sleep, which I think is weird. I still don't know what that was. I don't know what that experience was. But that was when things kind of really clicked that I was seeing things that weren't there. And pretty much after that, I shut down talking about the paranormal. I had no idea what the paranormal was at the time. I was a young kid. But basically, I would tell them that I'm seeing these things, I'm having these experiences, and I was told, oh, it's a nightmare. You know, it's your imagination, what have you. And like, talking to my family and stuff, I never really had the typical kids having a imaginary friend ghost experiences. But I did have like these things where I would point out like there's something there, and I would be very adamant about it, and they're just like, yeah, no, there's nothing there. Um, Going from there, we had moved to another town, and this is where paranormal activity kind of really picked up. Because we had moved into an old farmhouse. There was a huge yard and a huge field behind it. There was an old barn, and then there was a stream, and then there was a second field behind it. At some point in the second field behind the house, there had been a house that had burnt down. We ended up finding that out later. But the farmhouse was an old farmhouse that had been divided in two, and it had one of those creepy stone wall basements. It had an old coal chute. It still had a coal furnace to heat the house. And I was really excited to move in, but I did not like the basement at all. Whenever I would go into the basement, it was like, if you've ever been ghost hunting or if you've ever been in that situation, very much that situation of get out, you don't belong here. And I used to say all the time, please do not make me go in the basement. I do not like the basement. There's something in there. It does not like me. We had a washer and dryer down there, and I would literally run down the steps, throw everything in the basket, or I'd throw everything in the washer, and I would literally run back up the steps as fast as I could, because I could not be down there. And there was a lot of paranormal activity in this house, so much so that it was not just happening to me anymore. In the evenings, we would see shadow people in the field, running through the field into the barn and back. There were a few people who seen that, and there was a lot of more aggressive things there. My grandmother, who was raising me at the time, she had the stove turn on by itself, which is a hazard. I wouldn't necessarily call that aggressive, but it is a hazard. There was a time where my grandmother was like basically telling me that no, this stuff wasn't going on, and whatever it was actually slapped her upside the head. Thank you. I love my cat headphones. But yeah, and then there was a time where whatever was there, it had literally walked up and it had flicked her big toe. There was no reason why, like, her toe should have, like, I actually saw it happen. Like, her toe jerked. She's like, something just flicked my toe. And I'm just like, I told you. Like, literally anytime that there was a paranormal experience, like, I was like, I tried to tell you that there's stuff going on. And that was very validating for me. I took, and there was not just bad things there, there was also one spirit that I was very fond of. I had a lot of experiences in my room as a young teenager of, you know, kind of when you're almost half asleep and you hear someone calling your name, or you hear that low, like where people are talking and you can't really make out what they're saying, like conversations and stuff. One of my favorite interactions with this entity is our steps to go up to the second floor were very narrow. They were very like compressed. And I've fallen down them multiple times. My brothers had fallen down them multiple times. Like, you make one wrong move and you're going down the whole flight. Well, at one of these, you know, instances of, well, I was a clumsy kid, I went to fall down the stairs, and you know, you feel yourself tipping backwards to that point where you're like, oh, I'm going to fall. I can't correct myself. It literally felt like somebody had grabbed my hand and pulled me forward, and I fell forward, like up the steps instead of going down the whole flight. So that was one of my favorite experiences there. I really adored that entity in particular. And it seemed whoever they were, they kind of kept things in check because the shadow people would not come into the house. Whatever was in the basement stayed in the basement. And I think that's largely in part to this other entity who was keeping the balance in the house. After that, I evidently did not learn from the past of my parents, because when we moved yet again to the next town over, to a little trailer park in a trailer, I decided it was going to be a great idea to make a homemade Ouija board to terrify my brothers with. And I will fully admit that that was not a great thing to do. That was very much stupid on my part. And you should never do that. Don't ever mess with the Ouija board unless you have like the proper training and stuff. That is actually my 6-year-old who's stealing slices of pizza. But yeah, no, so we had moved into this thing, and I decided it was going to be a great idea to make a homemade Ouija board to mess with my brothers. Little did I know that I was going to unleash hell in my room. I don't know if it was demonic. It was definitely negative. There would be scratching on the walls, like in my walls, which is weird because it's a trailer. They're really thin. Nothing can go like really in between them. We didn't have mice or anything at the time because my grandmother was very meticulous about it. But there was scratching on the walls. I would hear like pounding on the walls. There would be like really weird occurrences, like I think the bathroom sink turned on a couple of times. There would be times where I woke up in the middle of the night and I would just be like panicked, and I'm like, I don't know why I'm panicked. I don't know why I'm awake, but I feel like there's something in here. I feel like I'm being watched and I'm very uncomfortable. Um, and then what really did it for me was I was asleep at one point, and the way that my room was set up is that I had my bed against a wall, and then I had a dresser against the top of my bed, like against the side of the head of my bed. I was half asleep. I believe I was waking up for school. But I was half asleep, and the next thing I know, something has grabbed my arm and yanked me sideways out of the bed, and I ended up cracking my head off of the dresser that was next to my bed, and I ended up with a concussion. So that was very scary, and this was like when I was 17, almost 18. For the next year, I did not sleep in my room. I would sleep in my grandmother's room, and I'd sleep on the couch, but I would not sleep in my room. My room was supposed to be my safe space, and it was very much not that anymore. And that was stupidity on my part. I eventually learned how to fix that and deal with that, but that was something that I had to deal with for like almost 2 years, because this would be an every night occurrence where I would be terrified at like 17, 18 years old to go to bed because there was scratching, there was pounding, like there was a bunch of stuff that was going on, mostly just in my room. Like during the day, stuff would happen like throughout the thing, but at night it was in my room. After that, I had dabbled with some stuff. It was kind of like when I had just started getting into like some pagan stuff and some Wiccan stuff. So I learned how to kind of fix it, and I did fix it for the most part. But shortly after that, I ended up moving. I ended up moving in with my husband. And we ended up living along the Civil War Trail in rural Pennsylvania. And where we ended up moving to used to be an old brothel. There was a lot of entities in this old brothel, and I never really had any issues with any of them. And I'm really surprised because there was a lot of negativity in a lot of the units that surrounded us. And I was really surprised that I never really had any issues. Because like the only thing that I had really had there was good experiences and good interactions until I started working at, it's a popular place, so we're just going to call it a sandwich shop. There was a sandwich shop across the street. I'd gotten a job there, and I started working there. And stuff started happening there too. And like most people didn't have experiences, but there was a couple other people who had weird things happen to them. And everything was pretty chill and pretty cool. There were times where I did get creeped out by myself, but most of the time I chalked it up to I would be working the closing shift by myself at night in a sandwich shop. So I figured, well, it's probably just creepy. Actually, I practice a weird mix of Norse and Celtic paganism. So not necessarily Wiccan, but it is a type of paganism. And I'm actually going to get into why I got into that. So, working at the sandwich shop, uh, I encountered what I believe to be a spirit of a little boy. He was very much one who would go around and he would hold on to the little apron that they give you. Because you'd have this little apron and you would like use that to like wipe your hands and what have you. So I had this little apron that was part of my uniform, and I would feel him grab the apron. There were times where I would be doing stuff and I would feel him grab my hand. Um, but over the couple of months that I worked there, things went downhill. Because I would say that I can pretty fairly tell the difference between, oh, this is this entity and this is that entity. So there was this little boy there, but then I would get these really creepy feelings. And then when I started to get these creepy feelings, other things started to happen. There was one time there was banging, and it felt like something had run past me and slammed this lid of the trash can down and made this loud noise. And I stood there. I was absolutely terrified because I had never had anything that blatant happen to me as an adult. So I kind of just stood there and I was like, did that actually just happen? What do? I have to finish my shift. How do I finish my shift? I'm gonna half-ass my shift and then I'm gonna leave. So that happened, and then I would say maybe a week or two later, I was working. I think I was doing dishes actually, and I had turned around to walk back to behind the counter where you make the sandwiches, and there was this big like air grate where like the heating system or the AC and stuff would blow out behind the counter, and it was a big grate. It was like maybe a 3 foot by 3 foot grate. And literally all I see hanging over it is this black blob with really long, gangly arms and legs, just hanging from the ceiling, hanging out. And as soon as I see it, I'm just like, and then it shoots into the vent. And I'm just like, okay, that happened. I quickly finish up whatever I can finish up, and I left. That night, I went home across the street. I did some stuff, like I think I got a shower. I did like my nighttime stuff. So like a couple hours later, I go to bed, I go to sleep. I've kind of like half forgotten about what happened. And at some point during the night, I actually ended up getting attacked by this entity. All I remember is waking up, seeing it over me. It's like roaring or screaming in my face, and all I can see is like rows of teeth. So it's just this black blob, same black blob with these arms like pinning me, and all I can see is this big round thing with like just rows of teeth going in. I was awake. I never woke up. Like I woke up and I didn't like wake up again. I wasn't dreaming. This is like I was fully conscious, fully aware. I never heard myself scream. Evidently, I woke my husband up, who was laying next to me, because I had screamed. I never heard myself scream. But as soon as he woke up and like rolled over, like, what's wrong? It was gone. I don't know if it's related to this or not. But literally about 2 weeks after that, I I went into, what is it called? I can't remember the medical term for it. Oh, preeclampsia. Because I was pregnant with my first daughter who was crawling around in the background. I ended up getting preeclampsia, and my daughter was born premature. I don't know if it was the stress of all the paranormal activity. I don't know if it was the attack on me. I don't know what it was. I think that it may have had something to do with it. Whether it actually did or not, I'll never know. While I was in the hospital, I was very, very sick. I was in there with my daughter for about 2 weeks. At one point, I was so bad, I was barely conscious. Things were really, really bad. And I remember just at one point being conscious and with it enough to see, like, there was a nurse or something holding my hands. And I just remember that she had these really, really nice fake nails. Like, she had these really nice immaculate nails. And at some point after, this had finished and I was okay and stuff, I had asked, I was like, who was the nurse who was in here who was holding my hands with the really nice nails? Because I wanted to say thank you for sitting with me and holding my hands, because I was a first-time mother. I was terrified because this was not how things were supposed to go. Hey, short stack. And all this other stuff. And they're like, there's nobody on the unit who has fake nails. And I was very, very confused until I remembered that my one great grandmother, who I was very attached to and very close to, she was very well known for having these immaculate, very well done, pretty nails. So I don't know if that was a nurse who used to work on the unit who's still there, or whether, it was her. I'm grateful either way for whoever it was who came in and held my hands. And then after that, things really calmed down. We had moved to another place. And things really calmed down until we had moved into a large house in the country. So at this point, it was my 4-year-old, my 2-year-old, my husband, myself, and my younger brother, who was living with me at the time. And I just very distinctively remember that there was this mirror that was up on the closet, and I used to cover it because I did not like it. I just had very bad feelings about it. However, my daughter would frequently uncover it, and she would stand there and she would spend hours playing in front of the mirror, talking to her friend in the mirror. And that concerned me for a number of reasons.
Stop when I have to.
Can you go?
No, I need to say something.
You need to say something.
I was in the room and I heard a girl scream, in the room.
Yeah.
And I freaked out, and something was moving, and I got scared. It was somebody I didn't know, or was from a mirror.
Yeah.
And I think I was talking to a spirit in a mirror before I was this age.
Well, thank you.
That's fascinating.
No, I know. I heard somebody like scream. It was like a little girl. Like, and it screamed so loud.
It was a little boy.
No, it wasn't. It was a girl. I heard her scream before I was going to go leave. And I got so scared. I think that was a girl I was talking to me when I was first removed from this in the other house. And that was a girl. And he come here. So I was talking.
Thank you. Can you go sit now? Thank you.
You're not getting any more light.
Thanks for joining us.
Um,
No, I asked you first.
but yeah, so that happened, and after that, stuff kind of died out until I moved back recently to the trailer park where I had done the Ouija board in my room. And we keep hearing ghost music boxes because we had moved into a house that had been empty for 2 years, and we moved in and inherited the house and everything in it. It looks like somebody had just left it. So we inherited the house. We inherited the ashes of Frosty the dog. He runs around. We've seen him. There's a ghost cat. There's a phantom music box. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. And yeah, I don't know if you guys have any questions since you popped on.
Well, I noticed that your cat had the same color ears when it faced the camera. That was pretty
Yeah.
cool.
But yeah, that's kind of how, like, that's kind of why I ended up getting into podcasting in the paranormal niche, because I had all of this crazy stuff happen to me, and I feel like other people needed to kind of be validated.
Right.
So,
Well, let's go to the Celtic. What was the other term you used?
Celtic and Norse paganism.
Okay, yes.
So,
Yeah.
essentially, paganism is anything that works with, like, the old gods. So anything that isn't really Christianity or any variant of that. So, like, your Egyptian gods, your Celtic gods, your Norse gods, things like that. And paganism is very personable, mostly because, like, I personally am eclectic, I think is the term. So I pick and choose between Norse and Celtic for whatever happens to suit my needs. And through learning that, I learned how to protect myself so I don't get attacked again. I have crystals sitting around. I have like all these preventative measures to keep negative things from coming and seeking me out and attacking me, basically.
And me and my sister too.
Yes, you and your sister too, because you got abilities.
And yeah, and
That's nothing.
I remember that time I got the handprint on me.
Yes. Scoot.
I was so big and then
Scoot.
Oh, we love family.
Your co-host.
Yes.
Yeah. But I don't know if you guys have any other questions for any of that stuff, but that's kind of the gist of what I do as far as, like, the paganism aspect.
So does that include any saging or any of that stuff if you need to?
Saging in general in the last few years has become a closed practice. So what that means is that certain variants of sage you can no longer ethically use unless you are of Native American descent. So I do something similar. I use ethically resourced or other herbs. And what I'll do is I'll literally just go around my house and, you know, I'll have the incense going or what have you. And I actually just had to do it the other night because I had caught the tail end of something walking through my couch, and I had stuff dropping off of my walls and everything else again. So I'm literally just in my living room with the incense, and I'm like, listen, I don't know who's here. I don't know what y'all are doing, but you got to get out of my house and cut this shit out. I'm trying to get stuff done.
So what are the herbs and spices of choice then for
It
this?
really depends on what you're doing. I know that there are a lot of people who will use like Christian based herbs, so like your like myrrh and stuff.
Frankincense.
Frankincense. I know a lot of people who use rosemary. Um, I know that there have been people who have used dragon's blood as well. I personally usually go to like my local metaphysical shop and I'll buy whatever isn't white sage or whatever is ethically sourced.
Wow.
Interesting.
Mommy, do you remember that? So,
But yeah,
Try to-
and
excuse me.
sorry, what was that?
Oh, I'm kind of looking back through the comments and make sure we covered everything. So your podcast, what platforms are you available on?
So I'm on pretty much everything. Spotify picked us up, Apple picked us up, Google Play has picked us up. We're on Anchor. We're on pretty much everything. And I recently got a email from Amazon asking if I was interested in them picking it up, and I did decline that one. So we're not on Amazon, unfortunately.
Mommy,
I haven't.
that's
I didn't know they ran.
that's what I
Podcast
was
either.
I didn't know
talking
they did
about.
either.
Actually,
Yeah, evidently
It's a part of
it's a-
Prime, I guess.
Well, evidently it's a new thing with Google Music, and they're just like, "Hey, we're collecting podcasts," and I'm just like, "I know how you guys are." Nope. But we're still in our first season. Our first season's gonna run into December. There will probably be a second season. And it ended up being like this talk show format, and I originally didn't plan for it to be. It was originally supposed to be like a story time hour. Very much like, I don't know if you're familiar with Aaron Mahnke's Lore. Where he goes and he tells like all these like folklore stories and what have you, and it's in the dark history niche. And it was originally supposed to be like that, but then I got into the paranormal community itself, and you guys were just so accepting and so ready, because I had reached out to a lot of people and was like, "Do you want to be on my podcast?" And like everybody was like, "Yes, I will be on your podcast." So I ended up doing a bunch of interviews and stuff, and it's just been amazing. And there are like, you guys are amazing. There are so many amazing people out there. I did not expect to like get the warm welcome that I did.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what we experienced once we finally reached out to the community itself. We were kind of just flying by the seat of our pants on trying to, get this thing going. And so,
Yeah, that's pretty much what I did. Cause I didn't even buy podcast equipment to get into podcasting. I am actually an artist by trade, and I bought it to live stream art. And I was like, well, what if I just start talking about stuff that I experienced and stuff that happens in my area? And it kind of just took off.
that's cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. Where are you at? I didn't.
We are
That's where you-
actually in rural PA.
Okay.
I currently live about 30 minutes from the capital of Pennsylvania, where I actually lived for about 7 years when a lot of this really negative and active stuff was going on. Was actually 30 minutes from Gettysburg and 30 minutes from Carlisle, so it was right along the Civil War trail, right
Oh,
between
right.
Carlisle and right between Gettysburg. And actually, I had the pleasure of going ghost hunting in Gettysburg
I was
for my
just gonna ask that.
honeymoon. Yeah, I eloped to Gettysburg and I went ghost hunting for my honeymoon, and it was the best.
Would be awesome.
That would be incredible.
Yeah.
That's on my bucket list. So
The honeymoon in Gettysburg.
no, just Gettysburg.
Oh, okay.
Not about a honeymoon, but hey.
If you ever have the chance to go to Gettysburg and do some of the ghost stuff, I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Well, we've made a lot of connections in Pennsylvania. That, you know,
I made a lot of connections up and down the East Coast.
well,
period.
that's true. Yeah. So
The-
we
well, it's-
really do want to make our way up there to.
Well, I think a lot of it
Do
is
some visiting.
because the East Coast is so concentrated in population. There's a lot that just continuously happens. Pennsylvania in general, I feel, is like extremely active. Because I remember doing the cryptid episode, and I literally had just done a episode just pertaining to the Susquehanna River and stuff that happens along the river. And I was just like, I'm never going in the river again. There's so much that happens just on that little strip. Like, Pennsylvania's terrifying, and I think somebody needs to help us.
It doesn't seem to have any end of places you can investigate
No,
in
not back there.
Pennsylvania.
No.
Well,
It
you think
doesn't.
about the East Coast, like I was tend to go back to saying that there's so much old history there that
Yeah.
it's,
A lot of friends that I have along the East Coast, they all seem to have their own paranormal experiences, or they have their own paranormal stories.
right.
Like, even in like the small out of the way towns, like the next town over, I know there's a lot of activity because there was a train wreck at one point with the railroad that had gone through town. The other town on the other side of me, I know there's a lot of activity because there was Native Americans that were pushed out to build a fort. Like, there's just a lot of concentrated stuff that goes on in Pennsylvania.
As Tim would say, road trip.
Yep.
You don't really think about the railroads that much, though, do you? You think about even when the railroads were first built, and how many people died,
Oh, yeah.
laying the track
Right.
and doing all that stuff. Yeah.
And like a lot of things that I don't think that a lot of people know is that when they would lay the tracks, there was a lot of people who would just drop dead laying the tracks, and they would continue to just build over them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, and I know that there's a lot of science that goes into the paranormal, like electric currents and water and a bunch of other stuff. And just the East Coast, I feel, is just like a homing beacon, or just like a generator for it.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely gotta get back there and do some investigating.
Mm.
Oh yeah, I recommend.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I did hear about that, about the railroads that they
Yeah,
wouldn't stop. It's kind of like when they're pouring cement in these big buildings and stuff. Once they start pouring, they don't want to stop, or they can't stop. So you always hear the legends of people falling in as they're dumping the concrete and they die, because they can't stop pouring. So it's
Yeah.
interesting.
But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I got.
So what's next on your list?
Next, definitely still doing the ominous hour. I'm actually planning this autumn. There's a local haunted house that has a lot of activity that was straight up just abandoned in the 50s. The people just left overnight. I'm trying to get in contact with the people who own the property and people who know about it. I'm planning on doing an episode and kind of just going out and doing pictures and stuff, because I do have to wait till fall. Unfortunately, the property is very grown over and you can no longer see it from the side of the road. So I have to wait until all the foliage drops so I can actually see what I'm doing. But I want to do that and do some I guess it would be considered investigative reporting, because I'm going to be doing all of that. And then I'm also planning on eventually coming out with some merch and doing some video stuff here on YouTube.
Cool.
Well, that'd be awesome.
That'd be very cool.
Yes.
So where can everybody find you right now, other than,
We
of course, the
are-
podcast platforms? I mean, but as far as social media.
So we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, and we also have a TikTok for those of you who are going to have it after this weekend.
Oh, what's going on this weekend?
They said Sunday it's ending.
Was that right?
It's banned.
we
You will
have
know
a
it.
little bit of fun with it.
Yeah, you well, I mean, if you have it downloaded, you can still do stuff. You just won't be able to download it after this
Oh, okay.
weekend.
Mm.
So if you have it, you can still do stuff, but if not,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
So, and everything's under the ominous hour.
Yep, everything
Awesome.
is under the ominous hour. You just type that in and on any social media and you should be able to find us.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And I want to thank you guys for letting me come and talk for an hour about myself and my podcast. And
Oh, thank you for coming
Yeah,
on.
we appreciate that.
yeah,
Hopefully you'll get some activity from this, and hopefully more people learn about you. And when we do this again in 6 months, you definitely have to come back.
I would love to come back. Hopefully in 6 months I can do a whole segment about the haunted house.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be sweet. That'd be
With
really cool.
pictures, huh?
I plan on taking pictures
Yeah.
and hopefully maybe doing some EVP. Depends on what all I have at the time.
Well, we can hook you up
I would love that.
from our last guest.
Yep, that's for sure. So, well, very cool. Well, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
All right.
So, how do we do that?
How do we do what?
I don't know. No,
I'm sorry, I had you guys finish early.
No, you're good.
No,
You're good.
actually what happened on our last segment, because we're doing 2-hour block things, is we got started too late on Facebook and it deleted the the feed because we started late. So actually, we're good to kind of end early to make sure that we
Get set up for the next one.
get the
Yeah.
next one going,
Yeah.
so we don't get deleted.
Yeah.
So that works out well.
So cool. Well, hopefully we'll be talking to you soon. And thanks again for joining us. And everybody, go check out the Ominous Hour.
Yes, come listen.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
All right, I will
right.
catch you guys next time.
All
We'll
right.
see you next time.
See ya.
Enjoy the rest of your. Is it evening? I guess it would be
It's-
evening your time.
yeah,
huh? So-
it's evening.
Yep. Yep. All righty.
All right.
All right. Take
Bye.
care now.
No, she dropped off before we did.
Wow.
Isn't it?
Wow. There it is.
Cool.
So I think what we're kind of learning here so far is we almost need to make the segments a little longer
Yeah,
for our
maybe.
guests because,
Yeah.
we'll have to bring Vinny back to finish going through his equipment. And
Yep.
Brian had quite a few slides to go through. So
I think it's going to depend on who we have in that particular segment too.
True.
You know, because some may not go as long as others, but we need to kind of
right. So I guess it's a scheduling thing.
Yeah.
So we schedule together.
Yep.
So this is a learning experience for us this time around.
Yes.
And
And
it's,
we're learning a lot.
yeah, yes, we are.
So,
It's lots of fun.
so our next segment's coming up at 3:00. We've got we're talking graveyards and phone apps.
Yeah, and so we invite people to join us on that. Do we have a link that they can?
If you want to join us, send us a message, and I will send you the link to be able to get into the studio. But the sooner the better. You can send us that link. So if you guys want to join us in our chat, just send us a message, and I'll send you the link over where you can join us.
Yeah, because I have a few things to say, but I don't think I could take a whole hour.
Well, we got to bring Tim back in here.
Yeah,
'Cause
that'll work.
We'll be good then.
Gotta get some food.
All right, so we'll see you back here in approximately 10 minutes?
About 10 minutes.
About
yeah.
10 minutes. We'll see you
All
then.
right.